What's up, YouTube? Shotgun Shogun. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new to the channel, welcome back. It is the Infinite Library, where we do a podcast every so often whenever I remember that I do podcasts, and then I just hit someone on Discord and I go, hey, are you free in like a couple of days to do a podcast? And Valk was like, yeah, actually, except yesterday he thought that we were going to do the podcast, but then I was like, hey, it's Wednesday, my dude. So you know, it's okay with like streaming for like 18 days straight. I also don't remember what days are, so I have to ask chat a lot of times. I'm like, hey guys, it's Thursday, right? And they're like, yep, it is Thursday. I'm like, okay, good, because I thought that it was Friday, or I thought that it was Tuesday. You know, it is what it is. But Valk, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, what's up, guys? I go by ValKyreia around these parts. I'm probably known as the biggest peepo talker this side of E7 Twitch, and yeah, I stream like primetime PST. So if you guys want to get your ears peepo talked off, talk about unit builds, like how to play, you know, RTA drafts and stuff like that, feel free to drop by and say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we'll have your info in the description. Do you have a YouTube as well?
I actually do, yeah. I can DM it to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, so I'll get all that information from you later on. But so one thing I want to start off with, Valk, is where'd you come from? Is Epic 7 your first game?
No, so this is actually a pretty funny story, right? So I do believe around like 2014, 2015 is when I started picking up mobile games, because it was just like a way to pass the time while I was spending time at uni, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like after 2016 and 2017, I started working. I started traveling a lot. You know, I couldn't take my computer everywhere, and what happened was I started picking up games like FGO. I started watching guys on YouTube like as Shogun, and
Oh my goodness!
you know, after however many years, here I am.
Yeah, it is actually kind of interesting, like how I run into people that you know, from Fate Grand Order, that are like, "Yo, hey, dude, I used to watch you and when you did Fate Grand Order content," and I'm like, man, those were the days back then.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people go through this like process where you know, with like IRL friends or internet friends, you just kind of cycle through a bunch of like gacha game of the month, right? And
True.
I think for my friend group, we kind of settled in on Epic 7, and we kind of hit up a really good community with the guild that we started out with. And that's kind of how I got really like into the game.
That's cool. Yeah, and it's always interesting whenever you talk to somebody who is who's into Epic 7, right? Because this is something I've kind of brought up a little bit when it comes to like Genshin Impact, is that mobile games are getting a lot bigger now. And Epic 7 and Genshin in particular are a lot of people's like first mobile games. And it's almost like when you're talking to somebody, like you can almost tell if they're like, you know, a veteran of the Salt Wars, right? If they've come from other mobile games and they're like, son, that's hell that you're walking into, right? Just in terms of like from a community standpoint on like a lot of things where like, you know, how they'll feel about like some of the things that we get, how like the game is played, you know, all of that jazz. So it's always interesting to see too, like the gacha game background for people, because I know that like the background for people that have come over from, let's say, like Summoner's War is sometimes a bit different than people who have come over from, you know, more predominantly PvE style games, in terms of what it is that they're looking for in terms of the in the game and all of that stuff. So definitely was something. What's your most hated food?
What's my most hated food? Huh, that's a pretty interesting one. I probably like ribs, I would say, because that's one of the things you kind of need your hands to eat, right?
Okay.
Like I'm Asian, so I use chopsticks for everything, and that's like no matter what, you know, what type of ribs, right? It's almost mandatory that you got to pick it up with your hands. And you know, me being a gamer, right, I hate getting my hands greasy, so that's one of the things where it's like, oh, it's got to be ribs today. All right, well, you know, gotta Gotta get ready to like wash my hands before and after, because I'm gonna need to use my hands.
So, but like, if let's say that somebody else like deboned the ribs for you,
Oh.
would that still be like that's the reason why you hate ribs? Is just because they're messy and you have to use your hands, not because it's like ribs or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't have anything like I outright don't like. I mean, I generally eat everything, right? I'm not like a picky eater. But in terms of like things I don't like that I've had just straight up by taste, probably scorpion.
Really?
Yeah.
No, see, I haven't had scorpion before. It's probably on my list of things to eat just so that I can say that I've eaten scorpion. But that's kind of interesting, and also kind of interesting that like you're for like, because most people, when it's like, what is your most hated food, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't like scorpion, right? Because it was gross or taste, and you're just like, I have to use my hands to eat this. I hate this.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting thing. I've always enjoyed like the question like, what do you do?
Do you want
Because
a
I can
really,
tell-
really unique answer,
Go for it.
actually? Because I can go into it. I just don't know if it's a brand risk or anything like that.
Oh, dude, we don't really have a brand here, so I don't think we're
Sick.
risking anything.
Yeah, because I'm Chinese, right? And one of the sketchiest things I've probably eaten, you might be able to guess, is a dog.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of figured. For me, like, I've had people pose that question. They're like, if that was a thing that was offered to you, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think that I could, just on principle.
Right,
Just
right.
because I have two of them, and I would be like, nah, I'm just gonna pass on this one. Like, I'm just gonna, no, thank you. Like, I appreciate the offer, but I will hard pass here. But like, yeah, it's always kind of one of those questions where it's like, when you ask somebody like, what do you do? Like, you can tell a lot about a person, like what they instantly go to. Because like, usually if you ask somebody, hey, like, what do you do? They'll instantly tell you what they do for work, right? And so you're like, right, okay, but like, what is it that you do? Like, what do you do for fun? And then they're like, oh, okay. So it's kind of interesting to throw that question out there just to see how people respond to it. So the most hated food one was actually the last question that somebody brought up in chat when we were brainstorming questions earlier, and I think that they were just maybe joking, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put this on the list because you know what, I also want to know. And people are probably gonna just like start skipping through this because they want to know your opinion on things in Epic 7, but I want to know, who is your favorite VTuber?
This is my favorite VTuber. Probably Calliope Mori.
Okay, that's a pretty common one. I can see why you and Frost are friends, because that is one of his favorites as well. That seems to be a pretty typical go-to. What is the origin though of the ValKyreia emote?
Oh, the ValKyreia emote? Yeah, so what happened was, I have a great friend of mine, Rainu, she's my artist, right? And one night, she literally pops into the voice call in my server while I was hanging out with friends, and she's like, hey, yo, can I add an emote to your Twitch channel? And I'm like, huh? And she's like, yeah, it just came to me, so I spent 5 hours making this, and I realized,
Holy
I'm
shit.
not partnered, because at the time, you need to be partnered to have animated emotes. And she's like, I'm not partnered, so I can't add this, which is kind of a shame, but it just came to me, and I had to make it. So she DMs it to me, and it's just a Molitork, and I'm like, that's amazing. She's like, yeah, you can have it. I just want it to be on Twitch because I know I have a sub to you, so it's like I just want to be able to spam it in my friend's chat. I'm like, yo, bet, I'll add it.
Yeah, it's real good. A lot of people drop it in my chat as well, so I definitely appreciate it. It is a pretty good one, and yes, asking the real questions. But let's actually go into some Epic 7 stuff, since we've learned a little bit about you. I'll throw some other things in here probably as well. But currently, what's your opinion on RTA this season versus last season?
RTA this season versus last season. So I think this season is pretty interesting, right? Because I haven't had enough game experience in the season to have a really solid opinion yet. Because I think I'll have 200 something games with double pre-bans with a +15 Soul Weaver change. But so far, how do I say this? I'm not like one of those guys who will always try to like break the wheel and reinvent the wheel, right? I just, give me the game, I will play it, I will analyze it, I will try to break it down in a way where I can understand it. And I don't think I'm that smart, so I try to break it down so that other people can understand it, and I try to help everybody get into the game, right? And I think it's in an
Yeah.
okay spot.
And that's actually kind of interesting because I mean, with the overall, it feels like the overall consensus is still a little bit of doom and gloom. And I think that like one of the problems currently is that a lot of people haven't gotten to double pre-ban. A lot of people haven't like really kind of gotten into like the season and stuff like that. I mean, I'm already 1,200 games in, and like I've gotten absolutely bodied by things like a random blue Roman, or there's a dude who runs a I think his name's Lord Grimm's or something like that, but he has like like a 310 speed fire Kawana with like with a fire Surin. The dude drafts like a full fire team, and whenever
Yep.
whenever I run into the dude, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let you have this draft because 10 points is worth seeing this thing pop off. But then he goes and posts me on Reddit for karma. So you know what? Next time that dude ain't getting his draft, I'm gonna go full try hard mode on him and probably still lose. But regardless, there's a lot of things that I've seen this season that are like kind of creeping up. I mean, I've seen Flitica's come back on the menu. I've
Right.
seen Bazaar pop out from time to time. I mean, obviously there's like a lot of things that I'm probably not going to see compared to other people because of the play style that I have. It's more of, actually my play style's a hot mess right now, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I need to play because, I mean, let's be real, the last time I took a season seriously was like season 3, season 4. So I'm like
Okay.
so far behind like everybody, and I'm trying to play this like weird mix of like, speed, aggro, bruiser, tank, and then I just have a hot mess. And so hopefully my call with literal call tomorrow
Uh-huh.
can help me, because man, I ran into him a couple of times and I'm just like, bro, you are the most frustrating human being to fight, because everything you have, it counters, everything that you have is thick, everything that you have is you so tanky. And that's what I need to go back to, because that was like my previous playstyle back in season 3. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I do feel like the more people play with the double pre-ban and the more that they're playing and stuff like that, the more I find a lot of people go, you know what? Things actually aren't that bad. Having a whole extra pre-ban really changes things up, because you take a whole lot of other units out of the equation that you might have had a hard time. Like if they got ran, there's still, even if you pre-banned ran, there's still other openers. Even if you pre-banned see Lilius or whatever, there's still a bunch of other openers that they could have and combo onto you. And I think that the double pre-ban is awesome.
Right.
I'd actually almost like to see them go with a like a mid-draft ban as well. I mean, that would be rough for people with obviously a limited unit pool, but I think that being able to like disrupt mid-draft, I think would be insanely good.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, right? I think like to go back to like the first topic, right? Pocket pickers, when you're like a content creator and you're kind of on the ladder, right? Pocket pickers are always the best, because for the cheap price of 10 RTA points, you get to make some free content. But like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
right? They put you on Reddit, so the next time you're like, man, all right, bet. Like you're gonna
Right.
play like this. Let me get you in a draft, and you're going right on YouTube, buddy boy.
Yeah, that's right. Revenge. Last time we gave him everything. We gave him the 10 points for some content. This time is serious. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, yeah, as like, yeah, because I mean, realistically, like if I was just like sitting in bed RTA and it's like 3 in the morning or something like that, I'm not streaming. You know, somebody tries to pull like some goofy stuff, I'm gonna be like, no. I'm banning that Kizuna Eye, because if you had the
Yep.
testicular fortitude to draft a Kizuna Eye, that thing is the most cracked Kizuna Eye in the entire universe. And no, you don't get it. And if it was a bluff, well, you debated me, and yeah, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely when it comes to content creation, like those people are definitely. It's like when I fought Call, the last time I fought Call, he picked that green lots of his, and I'm like, you know what? I've heard this dude talk about this green lots. You can have it, because I want to see what it can do. But what do you think about the tempo this season? Like, from the games that you've played, has it sped up? Has it slowed down? Is Cleave still like as viable as it has been in the past, or have the brakes been put on?
I think with the buff of Designer Lilibet, the brakes have definitely been put on, like the most egregious type of cleave, right? Which is like the Rancy Saria cleave, when you say, oh, now we draft the husband and the wife, right? Because they're so married to each other.
Right.
And the moment like Designer Lilibet got buffed, all of these units that pair so flawlessly with Caesarea kind of just took a hit, right? If you're playing Peyra, I'm sure you experienced this. Peyra, you first pick that Peyra, what's very likely to be slammed into you is an APOC Ravi plus a Designer Lilibet, right? That's like
Yep.
60 to 70% of the times people will automatically slam that against you. Sometimes they're a little bit more careful with it. They go see Lilius APOC, and then they hold the Designer Lilibet for the next round. Um, I'm sure you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't ever see a C. Lilius, because I permanently pre-ban C. Lilius.
okay.
So yeah, so I don't typically see that one, but yeah, most of the time, like if like especially if I see like a Dilibet like pre-ban, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's gonna cleave me. This guy's gonna try to see Saria, Ida cleave me, or absolutely first picking Peyra, something along those lines. And so that way too, like if I know that and they ban Dilibet, oh, if they ban like Dilibet and hand guy, I'm like, oh boy, here it comes. I'm just gonna first pick AOL, because if I don't first pick AOL, you're gonna first pick Peyra, you're gonna pick Caesarea. Chances are somewhere in that draft you're gonna pick AOL, and then you're gonna go into Solitus, and then I'm gonna play the animation. And we're not having that happen.
Right, yeah. And I think right now the tempo of the games are a lot faster. And here's something I noticed, right, which is most of season 6, and especially like the first half of the season, you can almost identify what playstyle somebody is going for by the first 2, if not 3 picks, right? So, if somebody starts to draft really units that are generally built really fast, right? You're like, that's a cleaver. Somebody who's playing medium high speed, you're like, that's an aggro team, and I have to make sure I draft neutral and outvalue them. They play standard, you're like, okay, I can cleave this. All right, somebody starts to pick like Magic, they go hand guy Rimuru or hand guy Troublemaker Crozet. You're like, okay, he's going tank down. I have to play like high value single target nuker. Or you queue into call. You're like, that's a DJ gamer. I'm ready to slam my roll on it, right?
Right.
So that was my experience last season. This season, I feel like things are a lot more ambiguous in terms of pacing and kind of how games are proceeded, because I kind of developed this playstyle where I think my main playstyle right now and throughout most of last season is aggro, right? But I kind of did this thing with my roster where I parsed through my gear, and at some point I had enough gear to do this, where every single unit on my team is speed tuned to play with every other unit on my team. So I made my hand guy, like, for example, unnecessarily fast. He's like almost 270 speed, and that's just because if I ever want to play Landy Cleave, I can play Landy Cleave under a hand guy. My hand guy is so fast, he can be an Ida activator, right? And the same thing can be said with my Amelia, as well as Angelica. Every single support unit is tuned to play with DPS that don't give themselves attack buff. And then the only DPS that go above them are things like, Blue Kisei, Fire Hand Guy, Rant, Op6, so things that can give themselves attack buff or things that aren't maybe not necessarily meant to be a carry unit.
Right.
So now we kind of have this situation where a lot of players are also doing the same thing where their units are tuned to play with each other top to bottom. So no matter what they're drafting, it's a mishmash of standard units, aggro units, and cleave units, and they're just meant to combo with each other. Especially, so I think especially at this like higher speed bracket end, these teams are getting very ambiguous, right? Because I could be drafting a standard team, and then, you know, if the other guy tanks down too hard, boom, Rancy's area, like, suddenly I'm a cleaver. Or I go hand guy Ida, and suddenly I'm playing aggro into, like, some type of combo standard, right? You can kind of have a lot more freedom to combo, especially when you have double pre-ban, when, for example, like, Rand's removed, Payrus removed, but you get to keep a C. Lilius, and then suddenly C. Lilius is a activator for Ida, so you kind of start to have all of these combos formulate in your head, and your entire team is trained to play top bottom, so it gets pretty wild.
So this is probably one of my big problems, because like I'm running on like, you know, like four megabytes of RAM in my brain. The fact that you have like everything on your entire account able to combo with everything else. I have about like two total combos. That's about it. And they're not even really good. So that's actually crazy, the level of detail that you have gotten to. And you know, that's actually something that like I should probably sit down and do one of these days, and kind of like, you know, it's interesting because you look at your entire account holistically. You go, okay, I want to be able to do this with all of these units. Me, I just kind of unga bunga myself into bruisers and tanks, because, well, you know, that's all my boomer brain can, you know, can process. So that is one of the things that I have a big problem with, especially like people like, let's say they, you know, they'll first pick hand guy. And then, you know, I'll respond with like, okay, cool. You pick hand guy. I'm going to pick FCC, and then like maybe a Rimuru or a Hua-Young or something like that. And then they pick something, and then immediately pick into AOL. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I, you know, only have a couple of places where I can answer, and, you know, like, what do I pick? Okay, Dilibet, fantastic. Then they go, okay, Solitaria. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, you're just pretty much going to ban my Dilibet here, and I don't really have too much else, you know, and then I get, like, jebaited into, like, you know, an Ida cleave or a Caesarea cleave or something along those lines, because people like Hand Guy and, you know, Apoc Ravi can literally be pretty much put into anything, which is kind of ridiculous, because like, even if you answer, you know, the cleave with some units, you know, and maybe they're a little bit thinner, they're like a support or something like that, they still have an Apoc Ravi on the field, and you're like, okay, well, cool, this Apoc Ravi now just solos me or brings back whoever, and you know, I had to shift, you know, to deal with these, you know, debuffers. And now I am in a place where I can't deal with, you know, an Apocalypse Ravi, which is, you know, kind of hard to deal with in the first place, because everybody now runs like, you know, 225, you know, 30k on proof, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, cool.
Right.
I have, yeah, because, you know, with Hua-Young and Rimuru running wild, Apoc Ravi's definitely had to add some bulk to their kit. But what would you say right now the game is maybe like missing from the meta?
What is missing from the meta?
Yeah,
I think what is missing from the meta is a support unit that attacks, but can also CR push units. Although that might make it too strong, because from my perspective, right? So everybody has a different account, right? To preface, everybody's gonna, you know, your mileage may vary, right? So my account is known for really good Soul Weavers, and you might even ask, like, how does a Soul Weaver player end up being an aggro player? And that's just purely because Soul Weaver speed right now makes it so that all Soul Weavers get plus 15 speed, and then it makes it very easy to speed tune all of my Soul Weavers to be attack buffers for my aggro team. So one of the things that I'm noticing, right, and I'm sure this might not like resonate with a lot of people, is that right now I think Politis is the strongest unit in the game.
I would
Because the
actually
moment I feel like I
completely
have a
agree with you. Yeah.
Politis, I can combo into anything I want, right? I can play Ida, I can play Amelia, I can play Singelica, I can play Hand Guy, and the other guy cannot stop me. So
Yeah.
they
No,
would
I
have to let me play
completely
whatever I
agree.
want for free for one cheap a mission fee of I have to pick a Politis.
Right. And it's not even like Politis is bad in general if they don't pick one of those things, right? Because
Yeah.
the fear of the Politis is so strong because, well, one, you don't know if it is a DPS Politis, or recently people, including myself, have been running a just omega thick high F res degen Politis. That's what I switched to, and it has saved me a lot of times. Just the super thick high F res, high effectiveness counter crown Politis.
Yep.
Payras will run into it, and then you're just like bopped. Oh, you're stunned. You don't get mitigation and attack buff now. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, you soul burn S1, and it didn't do anything. Clearly, you don't have more than like 150 effectiveness. You should probably up that. But yeah, just Politis being there, because like, yeah, my Amelia is really fast. I use her a lot to push a Hua Young forward or push an LQC forward, but the minute they throw down the Politis, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yep. That's the problem, right? So which is I understand when Politis was released, she was meant to be a cleave counter. But what happened is that, for support units, right, cleave relies on a lot of support units, right? At the time, there was your Flan, there was your auxiliary lots, with all these non-attacking skill. But I think Smile Game missed one important key aspect to this, which is that for anti-cleave, you need to use a lot of non-attacking skills as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
If I'm anti-cleaving, like my Mei Chloe revives, I need to slam that hammer. And if the opponent just happens to be sitting on an attack buff Politis, she's gonna spawn kill my entire team when I revive them. If I want to stabilize my team after being Caesarea bombed, I have to press S3 on my hand guy, which means that's a free activation for his Politis, and if my HP count is even anywhere near low, my entire team dies for free.
Yep. Yeah, no, and that is that's one of the things that kind of gets me sometimes, is like they'll draft even like a mitigation, like a bruiser, and then immediately go like pull it. If I slam Amelia, they'll go boom, AOL Politis. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because like, which one do I let through there? Do I let the AOL through and then hope that I can kill that before it just completely screws up my whole day, or do I let the Politis through and then risk it for the biscuit, push something forward to try to kill her before before she does her S3. Not only that, but even if you try to push forward, you have to hope that you actually do cut, because if you're trying to push something slow, it reduces that, and you get your cooldown, you get probably stunned, you still probably get cut, and then there goes your whole plan. Or do you literally just leave your Amelia completely useless until the Politis is out of the way? That's why the degen Politis, it's like a lot of people will try to do that, right? They'll be like, oh, okay, well, let me just kill this real quick, and then you're like, okay, well, have fun. You're gonna spend your time trying to kill this Politis while I murder your team, because your Amelia, your hand guy, your whoever can't do anything.
Right, exactly. And some people might think it's an opportunity cost issue, right? Where if you're running a degen Politis, your team is like, you don't have enough ways to push damage. But if you look at a lot of height and ladder, and this is something I do as well, I run two Politis, both at plus 15, one on a cleave build, one on a degen build. And sometimes if I feel like doing this to somebody on stream, I will pick a cleave Politis and I will cleave them. And then the immediate game after, I will pick like Para Politis again, and then play standard into them with a degen Politis. and they will be absolutely so dizzy on what they should do against me. It just looks like I'm styling on them, and
Right.
I think like the fact that you're allowed to do this on this hero is just an absolute testament to her being way too strong. And I think she
Yeah.
only gets better with time, unless like every support hero that comes out now is like Guide or Aether, where you do an attack and then you CR push the highest attack ally or something like that, right?
Right.
Where you have a way to very consistently support units without having to use non-attacking skills, which feels really, really bad. So this is kind of something that needs to be addressed for the long-term health of the game.
True. True. Yeah, and I think that like that's one of the things that is kind of weird and hard for them to balance, right? Is like the future ramifications of what they put in the game now. Because yeah, I mean, let's be real. I don't think that a lot of their balance really considers too much outside of a specific like subset of things. But yeah, I don't think that a lot of times they think about the future ramifications of, oh, we just put out this new person that has two non-attack skills. Oh, and then Politis is just over there, like, just rubbing those hands together, like, Politis stocks are back on the menu, boys.
Yeah, and that's something I think you hit the nail on the head on, right? Which is like, if you think about a lot of these units being released, so another big example I like to point out is like Bellion, right? Being able to stop all souls. I think Bellion right now for cleavers and aggro players is a default ban, right? If you're playing cleave and aggro at a high level, one of your two bans is going to be Bellion. Like you don't even need to think. It's Bellion plus something else, right? For the cleavers, it's usually Bellion plus FCC. For players like myself that like to play a little bit closer to the mid-range, it's going to be Bellion plus Ran, so you remove the slowest unit in the game and the fastest unit in the game, right? Yep. And I think the crowd that kind of gets left behind are the knight players, right? So if you think about playstyles like the old, what was it, copy pasta? Like I'm afraid I must do admit to abusing the bug known as A Tywin Soulburn spam.
That's right.
Right, that playstyle is now dead if you think about it. Dark Corvus, right, is dead if you think about it, because these types of playstyles are so slow, they're not likely to ban Bellion. And if they invest a pre-ban on Bellion, they're kind of wasting one of their bans. And because you have to leave Bellion up, you're no longer in a position where you can rely on a strategy with Soulburn A Tywin. You can no longer rely on a strategy revolving around Dark Corvus, who generally needs a Soulburn to land his kills. Right. True. So a lot of these like slower playstyles kind of just got moved out the meta, including like Adventurer Ross. Right. At some point, I know you had a really good Adventurer Ross. That guy was scary. He can support a lot of units like Landy Stenny when throughout, regardless of condition, because you can just keep soul burning that S2, farms infinite value, and now he's no longer that viable just because if you pick an A Ross a little bit too early, they slam a belly and suddenly you lose a ban.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in general, it's like the moment that anybody drops a Stenny on the board, if Bellion is not banned and the other person doesn't slam it, like, what are you even doing?
Right. And I think like a lot of players, right?
Yeah.
Myself included, make a living out of, I pre-ban Bellion and I just pick Stenny.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's a very Veritas thing to do in general. Like playing in the Shanghai Cup, right? Myself and Stanley, we both were repping the Veritas boys, and I was watching the Chinese cast, and they're like, wow, these V Guild guys really like to pre-ban Bellion and just play Stenny. And that ended up being something that was target banned against us, like, pretty often.
Right, yeah, no, and I've ran into a couple people on ladder just in general that it's like the moment, if they have first pick, it's ban Bellion, immediate first pick Spectre Tenebria. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll go AoE, and then you are already working into their stuff, so then they go things that are just anti-AoE. It's like, okay, throw some mitigation, here's a rem, here is a couple of other things, and then it's like they'll slam an SSB, and it's like, okay, cool, you have a whole board full of AoE, and now do you ban SSB and allow us to play like 3 protects Stenny, or do you just let these things in that are just going, you just let this rem through and this SSB that's going to just dump all over you? So I've ran into some stuff like that, and it's just kind of like that. Bellion ban first pick Stenny, you can get hard jebaited into that.
It's so much value, right? And an example I'll pull up from that was when I played against Magic Chi in Xiangsai Cup, probably in like the 3rd round or something like that. Um, Going into that set, right? I was like to preface, I love my man Magic. He's one of the most wholesome guys in the community. But if I'm playing against you in a tournament, I don't respect you. 2, right before we went into that set, he was bullying my boy Stanley for his hero pool. So I'm like, you're gonna bully him for his hero pool? Watch this. So I basically banned Bellion, first picked the Stenny to bait out the SSB, and then I wrapped my draft with like Rimuru Violet, and I banned his last pick. I'm like, you can pick anything for your last pick. I'm gonna trap you in an SSB game, right?
Yeah.
And you can absolutely do so many like tricky things that are like that. And that's one of the reasons why I like high-end RTA so much, right? Because you get into these mind games with other good players, and you get to see them play out in very interesting ways.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And I think that like that is actually one of the well, I mean, that's one of the big problems that I have, is that people absolutely lead me by the nose when it comes to drafting. Like, I will slam my last pick, and then I'm like, damn it.
Right, right.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, that was this is the worst draft I've ever ran into, and you know, I 100% you know, as they literally are, I'm playing their game now. And I think that that is kind of cool. And not only that, but the fact that like in high RTA, right, you do get to know the other players. So it's like, you do know like, oh, this person, you know, like I know if I'm going to go up against Ace Trainer, right?
Right.
I know that that dude is probably going to pick Aros, and he's going to go into Stenny or into Ameru, and his Ameru is actually insane.
Right.
And so, you know, it's like, okay, do I give you Ameru and Stenny, or do I ban the Aros to, you know, disable, and then, you know, your mitigation's gone, you know, your S2 Soulburn's gone, or do I ban one of those and then just hope that I can, you know, make my way through those? So it's always a little bit tough to do that. Yeah, and heckin' Smo, Big Smo is another one that kind of leads me by the nose a little bit. But he just screen snipes me all the time, so that's the only reason why Big Smo ever wins against me. He's just a heckin' screen sniper. You know, the one nice thing about being a content creator is that whenever you lead or whenever you lose,
Right.
you just blame them for screen sniping. That's really what it was. Like, you didn't lose. It was just them screen sniping you. That was really what it was at the end of the day. But here's like one of the questions that I have for you. Now, we know typically the other people that play, you know, at a high level for the past handful of seasons, from KR, from, you know, Europe, like the 3 people from Europe, and global and stuff like that, you know, and the Asia server. But when it comes to the JP players coming in, what is your overall opinion of the JP players that you've played against? Do you think that they are bringing anything new to the meta? How has your experience been playing against them so far?
So I think I run into 2 genres of JP player, right? JP player to me comes across as they have a slightly different meta, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I generally like to kind of break down drafts, and I would say JP players are usually identifiable by their second pick, and there's 2 genre of them. One is a Rimuru second pickers, where they'll pick like Hangai Rimuru or a speed unit plus Rimuru. It's always something plus Rimuru, and they're kind of free for landy cleave. You just landy cleave them. And then the other genre is the Judge Kisei second picker.
Yep.
And those are the guys with
Okay.
like the 305 speed Judge Kisei. You're like, that's a Judge Kisei. She has like 114 base speed. How fast can she be? So you slam
Yes.
your like 300 speed C Lilius, you're like 270 speed hand guy. And then like you get into the game, you're just like, oh, that is a very fast Judge Kisei. I guess I'm dead.
Yeah. And I also think that they hack because Literally every time that I have ever drafted like a Violet into them, which has been like 3 times now, 100% of the time that Judge Kisei is going to hit Violet and hit him with the cooldown, and then my Violet is completely useless
Oh no.
until he's dead. Every single time, and I'm like, I'm sure it probably has like Oath Key or something on it, but even then, Violet, my man, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing left side Violet? But yeah, I was gonna say, if you didn't bring up the 305 310 Judge Kiseis, like that is definitely something that I've 100% ran into. The other thing too, though, that I've noticed with JP players, and I don't know if this is just because they haven't farmed it enough, but almost every single Lion that they have is counter. Like, it's always counter. I don't think I've
Oh.
ever ran into a JP injury Lion. It's 100% of the time it's counter. And so when I see one, I'm like, you know what? I really don't feel like I have to worry about injury all that much. So like I can slam things like Last Rider Crow and some support, because chances are I'm just going to be getting hit with a counterattack, and I'm not too worried about it. Now I've noticed too that just in general,
Hmm.
people started kind of going back, like going to like a counter. Actually, like Lion's another one of those units, right? That's like
Right.
similar to what we were talking about, like with Politis and stuff. Is
Hmm.
that like there's 3 builds? There's counter, there's injury, and then there's like this speed Lion that I've like ran into a couple times, whereas like it is literally like a 240, 245 Lion. It
Oh
goes
yeah.
right after a stripper, and then they just hit you with the S3, and it's like, all right, cool, dude, what are you gonna do? And then after that, it's just like super omega disruptive. And
Yep.
yeah, it's always tough because you don't know which one you're running into, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I just pre-ban her, right? I don't want to have to play that little like twister of like, oh, time to make my team ready to fight injury. Oh, never mind, never mind. That doesn't look like injury, it's counter. Or like, wait a minute, is he going for like a speed Bellion play, right? So I just eliminate that from like things I have to worry about. I pre-ban the Bellion, I get to play book units, I get a first big Stenny into a turbo power pick, right? And that's one of like kind of a basis where I base my entire strategy around pre-banning the Bellion.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the other thing too that I've kind of noticed is like the Rimuru pickers, the Rimuru second pickers, um they have like paper thin Rimurus, but they do so much damage. There's a JP player YouTuber Momo7, and
Hmm.
I will never let that man have a Rimuru ever again. I will either steal it or I will ban it, because there was one day he let me have Bellion, he let me have Hua Young. I went in, I kicked somebody else because I'm like, you know what, I'm not too super worried about this Rimuru right now. My team's pretty tanky. He's not going to have like really any buffs whatsoever, so it doesn't matter too much. He hit me with the S2 and
Right.
almost one shot my Hua Young, and I'm just like, oh shit. I'm like, what just happened there? I'm like, that's insane. And then he took a turn. I don't even think he had more than like maybe 3 or 4 buffs on the field, and he just hit my Bellion for 28,000 damage. And I'm like, I
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, I had a belly in there. I'm like, that's crazy. And then so I mean, I lost that one, and then like from that moment forward, I was just like, this man will never have that unit against me ever again. I like actually messaged him on Twitter because we follow each other, and
Ah.
I'm like, bro, that's actually so something interesting, right? And I've told my chat this a couple times, is
Yeah.
the JP RTA players who are on Twitter seem to be having a really really good time. There's a couple
Okay.
of them that like I follow and they followed me back. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the review of the dude who was a previous like second rank RTA in JP. His builds were a little weird. I looked over his account like at one point, But like we followed each other, and then like I started talking to like some other JPRTA players, and they actually have like this kind of camaraderie like on Twitter where like if they fight somebody that they know, they'll tag them, but not like in a oh hey look I beat your ass or whatever type of deal. It's like
Right.
legitimately like hey like one of them tagged me one time and they're like, this guy's really strong, really hard to fight. I had a lot of fun fighting this dude, and they'll like message me and they're like, hey, that was a really good fight. I had one dude that his counter Bellion like legitimately countered like in Elbrist like 8-9 times in a row. I had
Jesus.
him down to like 4v2. I was like easily, and then like all of a sudden it was just like this Bellion just popped off like crazy. And so he like he tagged me. He's like, oh, like really heated fight. And I'm like, yeah, my chat was losing their minds. A lot of it's through Google Translate, obviously, so there's a little bit lost there, but they are like they seem to legitimately be having a lot of fun, even though some of them they're not doing as well because like they are a little bit behind on gear just because they started a lot later.
Hmm.
One of the things I did find out though is that apparently like their whales probably make like our whales look like dolphins. So I've been
Right.
told that like JP whales are like omega giga whales, like their whales are like Jinte. And there's a bunch of them, like a lot of them. Like I know that the YS dude, the top JPRTA player, currently, as far as like the last time I checked, anyways, like that dude has some insane gear. Like that guy had like a 35k like a Ravion proof that just took me. It was a world boss. It was literally a raid boss. It
Jeez.
was insane. Um, but like yeah dude, from what I understand, like their whales are like their whales are on like a whole other level, and the fact that like they have that gear and they're like 2 years behind our servers. I'm like, how they've literally had to have been like running like 50-second Wyvern 13 teams like from day one, and they just never stopped. Like they've literally just never stopped,
Right.
in the entire
Right.
time that the server's been up. But like I just enjoy the fact that it seems like they're having a lot of fun, and I think that that's really awesome.
Absolutely right, because if you really think about it, because I think, on the topic of like whaling, Japan is definitely where that whaling culture first started from. If you think about like
Yeah.
the roots of gacha game, right, and it started from Japan, and I think that's pretty normal, especially since if you think about it, right, I have a good amount of money spent on the game. I'm guessing you do as well, and one of the
Yeah.
reasons why, right, we spend this money, right, the spending feels good, is to be able to flex on people. And when you're now playing, you're like a fish
True.
in a bigger pond. You're flexing on more people, and you're feeling better about it. So I'm pretty happy for them because no matter what, at the end of the day, right? Epic 7 has a pretty tightly knit community, so everybody loves
Yeah.
playing with each other. If you're popping into like different Twitch chats or Discords, you'll see like, oh, hi there, big fan, like GG earlier, right? You see a lot
Right.
of that, and I'm kind of glad they can hop in with that as well.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, and I think it's really good and just like kind of I mean more healthy for just the game and the communities as a whole as well. Because I feel like the more people that are enjoying the game and are enjoying RTA, will kind of hopefully help drown out some of the like the doomers, the people that no matter what happens like with the game, there's just never going to be it's never going to be good enough. I think that like
Yeah.
it's tough, and I feel like there's just this weird like one thing too. This is going to be a little bit of a different segue, but have you noticed that they haven't had a KR stream in months?
I
uh
heard about that, right? Because I'm
yeah.
friends with a few Korean streamers and legend players, and
Yep.
that's something like my friend Mozizo touched on.
Hmm.
And that's a part of like why they feel like the second child all the time, because every week Moshi's doing something for us on Thursdays on Twitch and Mondays on YouTube.
Yep.
And if you see him anywhere and you have an issue, right, you can just be like, hey Moshi, I've had this issue, can you look into it? And most of the time Moshi will be more than happy to look into it. And
Yeah.
that's why like the man sleeps like 2 hours a day and he looks like he's just turbo sleep deprived, and that's just because he
Yeah.
is, right? He does so much for the community.
Right.
And
Right.
when Korean players look over, they're just like, the heck has Navi been doing? Navi's just been like recording for infomercials, right? And they're mad at him, understandable.
Well, yeah, but like, do you think that the fact that they haven't gotten a live stream at all is because whereas Global does appreciate the things that like Mashu does, where it's like they'll do like the little tournaments and stuff like that, and then KR will do like these huge like skits and like like dramas and like all this stuff, and it just kind of goes like to the wayside. I've actually almost seen more global players that are like, oh, I thought that the delivery thing was was kind of cute or whatever. I've seen more global players seemingly care about their skits and the effort that they put in. Now let's be real, like the ancient inheritance thing with Mr. Navi was kind of goofy.
It's goofy,
it was kind of a little cringe, right? But the fact that they put in like all of that effort, and then like the KR players are like, this isn't enough, this isn't what we want. Do you think that kind of led to them just being like, you know what, if you don't like it, then we just won't do it? You know
like
what? Here's
forget it,
your
right?
1 minute
That's
video,
kind of how
right?
it is.
Yeah.
I stream a lot. I'm not like a super extroverted person, but I try to stream like 6 days a week because I love the Twitch community, right? I hit go live every day, and everybody's here to have a good time, to listen to me people talk, and it's an amazing time. And I can imagine if people showing up, they're just like, nerfs when, like when can I get ML selector? I just feel like, you know what, like maybe that's not worth my time, right? I'll just do some stuff that's pretty disconnected, like the skits and whatnot. And hopefully people get off my back, right? Like the hate definitely makes like the content creators want to disengage from the environment in general.
Right. I mean, not only that, but like it's Mr. Navi's just a community person, right? I don't even know if he's really considered a community manager, because I mean, I don't really know much about the KR side in general, or if he is literally just just the live stream host and not necessarily like a community manager or anything like that. But like from a company standpoint, I mean, like we came from FGO, right? What kind of communication did we get?
Like
really nothing. That's why, like, and people will bring up like, oh well, just because it was bad over here doesn't mean that it needs to be bad over here. And I'm just like, like, what more do you want, like with their communication? They put out dev notes, they even like put out like a big old paragraph of like why they made the changes, right? So anytime we get dev notes, if they change a character, they're like, hey, look, this is what we intended with the character, and well, it just hasn't been doing that, so we're going to change this and this, and hopefully it fixes it, right? Chances are it probably won't, but it is what it is. These are the reasons. And if being a content creator myself, you're right, we go live and we're here to have a good time, but like if somebody comes in my chat like Big Smo, and he's just constantly being super negative, telling me that my draft sucks, telling me that, I'm just, my characters are bad, my gear's terrible. And I'm like, hey man, could you like, bring it down a bit there, Big Smo, like chill out, and he's like, no, dude, you suck. You're the worst. You should just close your channel down and refund everybody their subs and stuff like that. After a certain point, first off, I would just ban Big Smo, but like, if that constantly happened, I would be like, you know what, Big Smo, I was doing this for you. I went live yesterday because I wanted to make you happy. I wanted to make you and the community happy, Big Smo. You know, and you just come in here and you just heck me. Well, heck you. I'm just gonna go play Cyberpunk 2020, 2077, and I'm not even gonna stream it. And then what? And then you don't have anybody to be mad at, so you can just go be mad by yourself, Big Smo. That's what it is.
Oh
Now I love
no.
Big Smo.
Yeah, Smo's just getting clowned on, not like this.
But it's like I feel like a lot of that part is just them kind of like literally digging their own grave, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if they constantly, because let's be real, anybody who's played this game since day one, this is a completely different game. Like, this is 100% a completely different game with the quality of life,
Mm-hmm.
with the constant improvements, stuff like that. I mean, is there literally things that they can do better? Yeah, absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like a lot of times people don't really understand, like, you know design process, or corporate logistics, or any of those things, when they're like, I want this, and I want it now. And it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
that's part
random
of the
dude.
problem with like within the community too, right? Because this is like a conversation that's come up repeatedly, in different friend groups. I've seen it on Reddit. I've seen it discussed on Twitch, which is like, where is all of this perceived problem we have coming from, right? And
Yeah.
honestly, if I really had to pinpoint it, it kind of goes into what you're talking about, which is like, I feel like a lot of the player base, because it's their first gacha game, right? They can't
Hmm.
appreciate the things that we do have versus what we
Yeah.
don't have, right? Like they're expecting Smilegate to behave like, Riot Games, right? There's a patch every 2 weeks. The game is constantly in cycles of buffs and nerfs, but like yeah, there's like Summoner's War, which constantly buffs and nerfs heroes, but like compared to a lot of other games, like we have it pretty good, right? Now
Right.
I'm a player that I don't like to look at game balance in ways where it's like, oh, I don't like this. Time to baby rage about it and try to start a storm and then see if I can make some change happen. Like, I'm not here to change the world. Give me the
Yeah.
game and I'll play it, right? And within the game, I will say things I like about it, things I don't like about it, and think ways that I think are probably best or better in how you can play the game, right? And that's just kind of my personality as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean, I completely agree too. And like, one thing I mention a lot is, your definition of balance is going to be different than my definition of balance, which is going to be different than a plethora of other people's definition of balance. So when you see somebody that's like, this isn't balanced, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, what do you mean? Is this not balanced because you lost to it and you don't know how to overcome it? Or is it unbalanced because it has a college level dissertation worth of words in its S2, and then like a follow up novel in the S3 of things that it does? I have to
Yeah.
literally go get a PhD to understand what a character does. I'm like, I feel like some of the times they release a new character,
Yeah.
it was just an abyss boss that somehow made its way into a banner summon.
I agree. Like, I just recorded a Politis video, and I think I deserve a PhD for that, honestly. Breaking down reasons why she's good, why she deserves to be picked in each spot for whichever different play style. And that's throughout a lot of testing and experience, right? And that's definitely part of it. But, on the topic of balance, this is something like I hear from a lot of people in the community. And and this might be like a very hot take, right? I was in a conversation with friends a few days ago, and this question came up. Why does the game have to be balanced? Does balance make a game fun? Does balance make a game more competitive? Like, Pong was a
True.
balanced game. Is that a very competitive or fun game? Street Fighter 1 was very balanced. You literally, both guys only get the same character, right? Was that game very competitive or fun? Like, they
Yeah.
don't really correlate, right? Like, of course, if everybody has a more even playing field in a competitive game, great. But most of the time, balance doesn't even equate to fun.
True. Yeah, like, I've seen some people that say that they think that gear should be normalized, or speed should be normalized, or something along those lines. Or a lot of times too, like, the people that I see that like are really hardcore about how about it, are like, every unit should have some use somewhere, in some way, shape, or form. And I'm like, but like, They do, really, right?
Yeah,
Because
they do. It's
especially
just
in like
how much are you willing
PvE,
to go out of your way to make that a reality?
yeah, and like the thing too is like in PvE, you can pretty much use anybody that you want. Now, somebody will come through and say, right, but this unit is better. It's like, okay, well, that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about, can this unit be used in PvE? This unit can be. There's always going to be a character that is the top of the tier. There's always going to be a unit that is at the bottom of the tier. If everything was basically the same character with a different skin,
Right.
that would be super boring.
Yeah.
That would be really, really just, there's a difference between the AWP and the Scout in Counter-Strike, right?
Right,
You
right.
use one or the other. Everything has to kind of be a little bit different. Now, do I think that it would be good if they went back and they looked at like things and they're like, this does too much damage. This does way too much damage. We need to just, tweak this modifier down just a hair. There are a lot of things that I do think that they could change, but at the same time, who am I to determine what balance is, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
I'm
I
just a
feel
dude
like
who
here's
plays
the
the
thing.
game.
I think a lot of people, right? If if I'm calling somebody out, so be it, right? If this puts a target on my back, well, whoopsie daisy. But I feel like a lot of people, what they want isn't to balance. What they want is for the characters they like, the underpower heroes, to be the OP heroes, so they can have an excuse to be like the king of the world. Because a
Oh, I
lot
mean,
of
we both
times,
have
right?
a target on our back if that's the case. Because like, yeah, I say that all the time. I'm like, no, you don't want buffs and nerfs. You want your units to be buffed, and you want the units you don't like to be nerfed. That's what it usually is at the end of the day.
Yeah, cause like I was doing Ancient Inheritance last night, and they were like, "Well, I don't have Sermio. What replaces this?" I'm like, "Okay, do you want something accessible?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, you can use Januda, which is literally a 3-star, and they're
Yeah.
quite good for it. You boost them to level 50, put some. You either level 60 and then put okay gear on them, or you level 50 and put some premium gear. You just let them rip, right? And
Wait, hold
he's
on.
free, right?
Hold on
Pretty
one
much
sec.
free, 3-star hero.
Val,
And they're like,
did you
"Well,
say
no.
you were
What if I
doing
want to use
Ancient
this?"
Inheritance last night? Did you tell me you were doing Ancient Inheritance last night? Are you a
Oh
hacker?
wait, whoops. I mean, Avid side story. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my bad. But like, sometimes people are just like, "Well, I want to use this." Well, use them, right? And they're like, "Well, it's not good." Well, make it work, right?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think
No.
a
I
lot of
mean,
people
it's
just
the
aren't
same
honest
thing
with
with like.
themselves.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, a lot of people just aren't honest with themselves, right? And
Yeah.
and their intention kind of betrays that. And a lot of times, because of these people, we get a lot of like muddied discourse when it comes to balance. Some people are like, yeah, like I was a lot of times when I can't sleep at night, what I like to do is hop on Stove or Reddit and just read a few here's my thoughts on game balance. And
Bro, that
somebody
is
says
literally
something
what
like,
we've been doing. Like first thing in the morning, like I wake up, come over to the over to the the stream, and I'm like, "Hey guys, what's up? I just woke up. I know you know that because you literally were watching me sleep, you weirdos. I'm gonna let the dogs out. I'm gonna get myself something to drink real quick, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna find out what Dimdrid has to say today.
"Oh
Because
no, oh no."
uh,
That's definitely
Dimdrid,
one of the professors I love to read dissertations
dude,
from.
you know what? I think that if Dimdrid didn't exist, that Stove would be a very, very boring place. The epic tale of Dimdrid versus Drozencraft is one of my favorites. We go back to it from time to time. But there are like, and we were talking about this earlier today on stream. There are
Right.
like 10 people on Stove that
Yeah,
are in
it's just a
every
handful of the
thread.
same guys, and
Yeah.
sometimes they get into drama with each other, and then they start making
Yep.
burner accounts on each other.
Yep.
It's spicy. It's
Oh
like
man.
it's like a cheap soap opera drama to get
Dude,
into. You know?
it is a literal fountain of content. You put on like the sad background music, the type of music that's in like the 3 a.m. like dogs crying infomercial with some washed up celebrity, and you're just like, you're like, all right, boys, it's time. We're going to learn about the Ballad of Dave Potato and how he almost deleted his account because he was so mad. This is going to be amazing, boys. Let's go. Let's go,
we're gonna learn
boys.
about the legend of Tuan Pham and how he's deleted his account 3 times on accident now.
3
he makes a post about it every week.
Every time, dude. And it's like, hey, I accidentally deleted my account. Can I get that back? And it's just like, no, dude, you can't get it back yet again. Like, calm down, homie. You know, yeah, or like literally the like 17-page essays about what exactly did you ever see the one where the dude suggested that a Ravi should not be able to be revived? Like, literally, they're like, the way you fix her is that she should not be able to revive. Like, she should literally have self-extinction. She's dead, she's gone. And I'm like,
oh my god.
I'm like, is this real? I'm like, this is I'm like, man, this guy's got some spicy takes. Yeah, there was like the only one that was in there was that Dark Corvus needed damage, like scaling something, and I'm like, man, this guy is a literal savant. This guy posted this 2 weeks ago, and then it happened. I'm like, the one decent thing out of his whole paper you know, got implemented. You know, I'm like, man, maybe the devs do read this, but yeah, no. It's real crazy. And the thing too is, like, you see stuff like this, and then people start spreading this around, and it's literally just like the same 5 people on Stove anyways, and then they're like, the community is so mad right now. They are livid. You do not even understand the hellfire which they will release upon this game. And you're like, man, it's just like 5 dudes who literally admitted that they haven't paid anything on this game in like a year and a half. So, like, you know, what do they even matter, right?
Yeah, if you're not even F2P, don't even talk to these professors. Their brain is just on a different plane of existence compared to yours. And if you're a cringe cash gamer, you can't even comprehend the game on the same level that they do.
Oh, true. And if you disagree, you're literally a paid Smilegate shill.
Yeah.
That was another one.
I think what they call it, the Smilegate apologist is what they call it.
Yeah, that too. Right.
Oh my god. The 2 favorite ones I've seen are the one where someone says, I think the red, green, blue unit that needs the most buff is Cess, and what he should do is give the enemy escort buff, because it lets them take more damage. And since it is a buff, not a debuff, it cannot be resisted, and they cannot immunity it. I'm like, wow, these guys really are on a different plane of existence with where their brains are at, because I can't compare. I can't come up with this, even if you paid me.
Imagine, though, you escort one of their DPS, and then you Hua Young into their tank, and then you just kill both of them at the same time.
I think they're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking, you know, that's... give forcing escort onto an opponent unit is just a better curse. Oh my god.
True, actually. And, you know, they can't resist it because it's a buff, not a debuff, man. You know, these guys, like, I'm surprised that they don't just disappear from the forums, as they have been hired by Smilegate in order to, you know, in order to make their game infinitely better.
Yeah, that's just so, it's crazy. And then another one I've seen was like a day after the ML tickets refunds, right? Someone's like, I think the unit that needs the most buffs in this game is LQC, and they proceed to like write like 3 lines of like what they think LQC could be improved on. Right. And boys, I'll bet you guys my best set of gear on my entire account. This guy just pulled LQC from his fucking tickets. He looked at his LQC, looked at the Hua Young, and just asked himself, now, how can I have 2 of these?
What's better than 1 Hua Young? 2 Hua Youngs. Yeah, I would actually say probably my most premium gear on my account is actually on my LQC. Like, I really enjoy my LQC, even like not into dark units, but Just in general, I think that LQC is great because she brings the mitigation that a lot of people forget about.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, yeah, Stove was a guilty pleasure for a long time for mine of me. And people would be like, "Yo, can we read whatever drama's on there?" And I would always be like, yeah, I might make some videos about that one, like eventually." But now that we just stream, like I'll just pull it up in the middle of the day, and I'm like, "All right, guys, we refresh in general chat. Let's see what people are mad about now. Oh, it's 15% innate resistance. Yeah, man, it's a hot, spicy take, dude. Nobody has ever thought in the history of this game to just remove 15% from PvE, dude. This is revolutionary. I don't even know why they haven't thought about this yet, but I'm glad that you made this post because now they're going to definitely think about that. And they're going to go back on what they said in the one video for the anniversary where they said they're not going to get rid of it because the whole game is balanced around it. And they're going to rethink their whole game plan because insert random rank 27 on Stove just open their eyes, and that's crazy, dude.
Yep.
um
That's the thing,
but
right?
yeah,
Like, and they always try to like talk about this, and then they hide it behind the hashtag game balance, hashtag red bring glue units, and no
yeah,
joke, that is actually a hashtag somebody wrote on one of those posts. I'm quoting one of those quotes. Like,
nice,
oh my
nice, yeah.
god.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild, just like the ideas that a lot of people have. And you know what? I think like one of the things, um, the reasons why I never really saw this with like other games that I played was
Hmm.
because outside of Reddit, none of the other games that I played had like forums or an official Discord or like anything like that. So a lot of the like complaints and stuff like that just kind of fell to the wayside, right? Like yeah, people would complain on Twitter, but like yeah, who cares? You're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Your opinion really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And the companies didn't react to anything. So your complaints literally just got yeeted into the void. And you could complain all you want, and the companies were just kind of like, "Yep,
Yep. I
that's
mean,
cool,
like people
dude."
complain about Fate Go, and then that threat will get buried by some Raiko fan art, and then, and then, DW's never gonna respond anything to it.
Yeah, do you think that the difference is the fact that like DW is a JP company and like because like a lot of people have talked about how in KR, right, the just the game community, like the things that people like hold important, there's a lot of like drama and everything like that and like everything. Do you think that like a lot of that is like cultural differences where JP's just like, yeah, we are going to do what we want to do and we literally don't care about the rest of the world?
Right, right. I actually think that has partially to do with it. Just because I think as far as Korean gaming culture goes, right, compared to Japan, I think Japan has that more like traditional, like when you think about gacha games, right? They just release a game, they release the characters, power creep happens, you keep spending your money, uh, death and taxes, life goes on, right?
Yeah.
Korean companies, because a lot of Korean companies have an MMO background, and as far as MMO is concerned, right, I feel like that MMO sphere and the gacha game sphere are kind of like merging together now.
True.
On the Korean side, what you'll have is like more passionate gaming communities and people who care more about the game, and they're probably prouder to rep the game, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like even in a lot of cases, like that's becoming more of a thing globally as well. So people are more passionate about what they're talking about, right? Which is definitely something I like to see. Like I know, like even earlier, I was clowning at people for like, oh, they just want to see their unit be better, right? Like that is true, but like I think having people have more passion and care more about their game is just better for the community in general if it's channeled constructively.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that like, channeling constructively though is kind of hard, right?
It's asking for a
Because
lot.
yeah, it is asking for a lot. I mean, uh, you know, I was really surprised that Ranking of Kings had like a 5-star rating on Crunchyroll when I first looked at it, because trying to get even anime nerds in general to agree that something is 5 stars is astronomically impossible. And
Right.
you are asking for gotcha gaming, gotcha gamers who are some of the more toxic gamers in the entire universe. I've been to gotcha slash r gotcha gaming. It's pretty toxic over there, but like a lot of gotcha gamers are pretty toxic, and you're asking them to be constructive and reasonable. Valk, I don't know, man. I don't know
That's
about that
asking
one.
for a lot. I
Yeah.
understand, which why is the why I don't expect it to ever be a thing, you know.
Yeah, segue into another topic that I actually didn't really think about bringing up, but because we're talking about it, do you think that gotcha communities are more toxic because the barrier for entry is none? Since gotcha games can be free to play, anybody with a phone can install it, or even an emulator, it doesn't matter. There's literally no barrier to entry. Do you think that, much like League of Legends being the same, because there's no barrier to entry, it fosters a more toxic fan base?
100% agree. And I have a personal anecdote that kind of backs this up, and I don't know if anybody else out there has a similar or different experience, right? Feel free to agree or disagree in chat. And my experience with this was I was helping my friends run like the first guild I was in for a while, right? And one thing that happened was when Genshin came out, our guild had a massive exodus of players. Like I think we
Yeah.
lost something like 16 out of 28 players, and we had to
Damn.
massively reconstruct the entire guild. And but what I know, and that was really stressful, right? But what I noticed was after a lot of like the super free to play players left, the guild and the game overall got a lot like less toxic. Like the people who stayed behind to still play Epic 7 after Genshin were the people who actually really enjoy the game. And
Yeah.
after that, I noticed like the community overall, like Reddit, sometimes on Twitch, are the only people who are left are people who just like the game, and the game got, as a result, a lot less toxic.
So yeah, I mean, I will completely, yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. And then, like, if you do look at the Genshin community, it is pretty toxic as well. I mean, I do think that part of, like, the thing is yeah, with no barrier to entry, right? You have a copious amount of players, and there's like when it comes to gotcha, and I mean, I used to do this a long time ago. Like, I would play until I hit a paywall, and then I knew that I could just put that game down and go play another game.
Mhm.
um but like, I feel like if you're somebody who has invested like a lot of time into it, maybe you just want more free stuff, and you do like the game, because, like, let's be real, a lot of people come back to Epic 7. Graphically, Epic 7 is really good. It is probably one of the best gotcha games on the market, in terms of, like, graphics and stuff like that. And
Right.
people just continue to come back to the game. So if you're not happy with it because, let's say you want, you want to be like near the top, and, like we were saying with newer players and stuff like that, if you just continuously come back and back and back, and, you're not, especially if you take a break, right? If you
Right.
take a break, you're going to be even further behind. So, like, let's say you took a break, you went and played Genshin, realize that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, you come back. Now you're already further behind than where you were before, and then you left because you were mad because you couldn't get legend, because your Wi-Fi was out, and you were trying to get legend in the parking lot of a McDonald's and you didn't make it, and so you got mad and you rage quit Epic 7. So you want to play Genshin, now you're even further behind, and then it kind of
Right.
like makes that spiral of like unhappiness, right?
Mhm.
And I do think that, like, the unhappy people are definitely a huge minority now. I think that when we had that survey, right, I thought it was kind of interesting to see people's reactions to the response to the balance survey thing, because you could tell that people who were mad about that survey. I don't think were mad because of what the survey said, but I feel like they were mad because the survey um didn't reflect their kind of like echo chamber of what they think is wrong with the game, right? You know,
Yeah.
if 22 plus thousand people answer a survey and like the thing that you thought was important is only like 5%, like it's not the other people that are wrong. It's the fact that the vast majority of players don't actually care about that. You know, I mean, I'll
Yeah.
be real. I don't think the vast majority of Epic 7 players play RTA or care about RTA.
Yeah, even as like an RTA streamer, I understand that, right? And like, you know, I don't like to talk about it, but like I go on Reddit, I go on Stove, right? I go on the E7 official Discord, I go on bigger streamers Discord, and I just kind of check out what other people are saying. You know, because I think this is something that kind of comes with more like age and life experience, right? Which is just like you have to understand, like the world doesn't revolve around you, right? The world doesn't revolve around you, Shogun. It doesn't revolve around me, right? And you know, if you want to
Wait,
be a part of that world, you kind of gotta keep it level with yourself, what the world is like, right? Go see, broaden your horizons, see what everyone else is saying. And like, you know, the same 12 guys on Stove saying Says is going to get an escort buff, and that's going to be like the game changer. Like they're going to have the survey come out, and they're just gonna be like, the heck? That's not what we talked about. All of us on the official forum deemed this was the necessary buff in order to make this hero top tier, which balances out the game, and the world is going to have world peace. What the heck?
right?
Like, I'm
Yeah,
mad. We just lost a chance at world peace. That is an absolute blasphemy.
yeah. And I mean, like here, like the other thing too, and you know, I tell people a lot of times too, is that like the average player does not know like anything about like KR drama. They don't know like why people are mad. I mean, you can look at posts and people will be like, "Hey, why did we get these free things?" And they'll be like, "Well, did you read the patch notes, or you know what's going on?" And they're like, "No, I don't actually know how to read." And I'm like, "Well, that's pretty much what I built my entire channel on. So, you know, like, fave, and subscribe. So I just read things to you." But you know,
Hmm.
it is a lot of people that just get into an echo chamber, and when you listen, the only people you listen to are the people that agree with you and know, and we are the ones that know the best thing for this game. And then like the survey comes out and you have to be shown that, you know, you are not the one who knows. You're not the majority of people. And then you're that, you know, Skinner meme, the Simpsons meme, where he's like,
Oh,
am I the
right.
one who's wrong? No, it's the other 95% of the players who don't think that this one thing is a problem. Like, you know, hot take, I think Hua Young was really good for the game. I've gotten a lot of pushback from this because, you know, people are like, oh well, she's the eighth disaster, she's a menace, she is, you know, absolutely the worst thing that's ever happened to this game. And I tell people, everybody had a chance to roll for her. She is an RGB. She is in the covenants. She is not limited. Do I think that her S3 should be 4 turns instead of 3 turns? I completely do. But the thing is, if you put out an answer to the 7 great disasters, how does that not become the eighth disaster?
Yeah, yeah, and that's just kind of a result of the situation, right? Where Smilegate will always use new heroes to balance out older ones, and you know, if certain heroes are too strong, like for example, if Hwayoung never came out, a Ravi would still have no like clear answer, right?
Yep.
And now that Hwayoung's a problem, right? And that's a question to get on stream, like Valk, how do I counter Hwayoung, right? And you know, I'll give him plenty of ways. So you can, you know, cleave her. You can play a Steny comp. You can play any one of the new like buffed speed DPSs, right? Like you can play Kisei, Fire, Coeric, reset her, right? Don't worry about her, right? And you know, there's plenty of things people do to answer this hero, right? It's not just like you have to play against Hwayoung. Like you realize all the top 100 players have to play with and against Hwayoung as well, and you know we deal with her just fine.
Okay, but Valk, I don't want to do any of those things that you just mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I need another answer besides all of the things that you just said to fight against Hua Young, because well I just don't want to do those.
Oh, okay. Here's a smarmy one I always give, right? There's always three more solutions. You pre-ban her, you take her, or you post-ban her. And if that is
Okay,
still
but
not enough,
I don't have her because I
oh,
didn't roll for her, because I didn't want to roll for her, because somebody said that she wasn't very good. So I didn't roll for her, and I can't pre-ban her, because if I pre-ban her, then I can't pre-ban AOL, and then I can't post-ban her because I'm just not allowed. So you need to nerf her.
yeah. You know what? You're right. That is the absolute correct take here. Like the world revolves around you and your account and how everything you play out there, right? And we should
Yeah.
absolutely adjust the game balance to like what each person thinks, and that is the absolute best way to do things. Oh man, what was
Right.
I thinking? Whoops. I'm opening
And
I'm broadening my horizons today.
see,
Wow.
you know what? I'm doing what I can, man. You know, that's like, think that right there is kind of the crux of a lot of the problems, right? Is
Yeah.
that people will be like, well, I want to play the game this way. And it's like, well, you can't, right? You know, people will be
Mhm.
like, I don't want to use hand guy. And I'm like, first off, why not? He's awesome. He's amazing. You know, why would you not want to use hand guy? And they're like, because of purposes, reasons, principles.
Yeah, you don't like
And I'm
the
like,
if
well,
you're
then, I
scared,
mean, you know,
run.
if you don't want to use it, then I guess then you don't win. There's like the people are like, well, meta is boring, right? I don't want to play the meta. It's boring. It's like, is winning boring? Because you know what? I have a really good time winning. When I'm
Mhm.
winning, I'm having fun. That's really good. I don't care if I have to auto lock the same units over and over and over again. If I wanted to play goofy ass units, I would host a tournament like the tournament that's coming up this weekend. That is a rainbow tournament because Magic Chi got to pick the tournament rules, which you know is pretty cool. But you know, you pick one of every element. Um,
Right.
so that's gonna be pretty fun. But like I've always told people, it's like, yeah, if you want to have off meta fun, just go make a mock room. If you are trying to have fun on the ladder, go win. Like that's
Right.
what it is, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people like aren't honest with themselves in regards to that, right? Like, oh, I want to play the game my way, and I want to win, and like I want to do it free to play, and I don't want to have to ever build a unit I don't like, and I want to be considered like God Drafter Supreme King 9000. I'm like, okay, dude, you live your life. Good luck with
Yeah, I mean
that.
that seems reasonable to me, actually. I mean, yeah, yeah, you know, 100%. But yeah, I mean, it really is. And then those are the times, those are the kind of people that, like, you know, they'll try to play like some really like goofy comp and it doesn't work. And then they instantly go to like Discord or Reddit or something. And they're like, see, everybody's a meta slave. Everybody, I tried to pick 5-star or level 5 units, and this person just slammed nothing but meta ML5s. And it's like, well, yeah, because you queued up on the ladder.
Yeah.
And they're trying to win, and you're trying to win. So you know, well, they're trying to win, and you're trying to have like a goofy, fun time. Also, anybody who tries to pick 5-stars and bait me or level 5 units and then bait me into that, I know that all of those things are absolutely 100% geared, and that dude's just gonna clown on me. So you know, I'm not gonna fall into that one. You
Yeah.
ain't farming. I already get farmed enough for Reddit karma, so.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think it's like cool to pick like level fives or go like draft goofy and then like complain about it. I mean, dog, it's ladder. People play ladder to win.
Right. Right. And I mean, just like any competitive game, at a certain point, like there's just units that do better. And you know, if you are intentionally not picking those units, then I mean you're playing at a handicap. So I mean if you win, then fantastic. But like if you don't, then you can't really sit there and be like, ugh. If it
Yeah.
weren't for the meta units, I would be top legend.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? There are a lot of players out there sitting in Emperor and top 1000, right? Who are like, waifu only gamers, or like, I will only play like cleave, and they're only ever single target cleave, or,
yeah,
there are a lot of players out there who are like, I first pick mid Chloe every game, right? There's that guy. There's the only waifu player, right?
yeah. Well,
Drac plays only single target cleave.
The Asian Elfelt dude back in the day. I think he still plays. The beginning of his name just had a plus on it. That's the only way I knew. And the dude would only play waifus, and he almost always tried to push Elfelt into his draft. And I loved playing against that dude.
Yeah.
Because he came up with like some of the just weirdest stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I'm like, I don't even know what this guy is doing right now. But I want to see it. I loved playing against that dude, and there are players that at the top that can make goofy stuff work. And I think that people that go out of their way to complain about how nothing except for these tiny subset of characters can work, and they're in every game all the time, and it's like, well, yeah, because those people want to win. Like,
yeah, I mean, even then, right. So I was talking about Nico Ni, right, which first picks made every game, and Call makes an even better point. He first picks made every game, and he's legend, and he makes it work, right? It's like, how much work are you willing to put into your account to make your playstyle work, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I talk to some people, I'm like, how many games have you like, slammed to like prepare to make a push with this playstyle? And they just be like, yeah, I play some games. I'm like, show me your logs, and they'll be like 3 games into placements, and like, yeah, I think I can make a legend push for this. I'm like, dude, you realize like I push like 300 games a week in like the most like serious like weeks where I play, and I like log everything, and then me and a few friends will like sit down with a spreadsheet and like analyze things. There's a lot of stuff to go into like overcoming like gear gap, right? Like I'm not the best player, so I kind of go a lot of extra steps to overcome either a skill gap or a gear gap, right? And it's kind of about understanding you need to put in work somewhere.
Yeah, you know what I typically do? I just go, hey chat, is this a good idea? And then I slam it anyways. And then afterwards, when it doesn't work out, I'm like, man, chat, what the fuck, dude? Like, why did you guys tell me to do that? That was terrible. Oh my god, chat, if it weren't for you guys, and if it weren't for me just being really dumb, we would have won that one. Yeah, 100%, man. We would have. So if you just blame chat, that's the reason why you didn't get legend. I mean, it takes all the onus and responsibility off of you.
Oh,
so,
true. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, taking the responsibility off of your own shoulders. That's definitely the first step to how to end up as a legend player, for sure.
Yeah. Blame Smo, blame Pinar, blame Higa. Yeah, all three of those dudes. You just heck them. You know what? Pinar is actually one of like the people that I have like a really hard time with. And dude, I would just run into that dude all the time, man. And like that guy he always bans Yoon Young and Hasol. And it's always really confusing because I'm like, is this guy banning these because like they're OP? Or is he banning these because he doesn't care? Like he just literally doesn't care about what you have available, and he's just gonna dump on you no matter what. He
knows everything he's got is better.
Right. And it is. Yeah, it is. I have such a hard time against Pinar, and I will just literally Pinar will just roll me like super hard, and I'm just like, yeah, like if I get a win against Pinar, I call that a good day. I'm 100%. Like, hell yeah,
I have players like that. Jinte, Suck, Kenny, right?
Yeah. I mean,
there are players
I pick
out
up
there
a win time.
Just know.
Yeah, I pick up a win every so often from Kana, but I feel like Kana just beats himself most of the time. So is that really like a big victory, right?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, dude. No, Kana's pretty different because he will beat some of the best players, and then he'll lose to players that you would absolutely expect him to beat. So, for example, I think ever since season 4, last day I've always been in a Discord call with like him and a few of the Veritas boys, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it went like this last season. We would be we would have like Aether Bulge and Korean Jesus and Elf Mage stream up and be like, okay, these guys are in. All right, Q. Kana goes to Q and he Qs into Jinte. And me and Wendy are just like, oh, okay, go. So I would get in the game, and then Wendy gets in the game, and then we're like, man, Kana's protecting us from Jinte. And then we would look over after me and Wynn's game, and Kana would be beating Jinte, and we're like, what the heck's happening, right? So we're like, oh, he's good. And then next game, Kana would queue into AB, and he would beat AB, and then Korean Jesus. And then after that, Kana would queue into like a rank 800 player, and then proceeds to lose all the points he earned from beating the top players.
You know what? That actually happened to me like for a little bit, right? When I was like climbing like real hard, like you know, like a week ago, right?
Yeah.
I queued into 6 duck, and the first match, I'm like, oh shit, guys! I'm like, this is 6 duck. I'm like, this dude has a guild named after himself. I'm like, this is serious, boys. I need to focus right now. I need Alan to put on big Chungus openings so that I am like 100% ready to go. And the first match, I absolutely bodied him. I was like, dude, hell yeah. I'm like, 6 duck is like up there at the top. I'm like, nice. I went up against that YS dude, the like 35k proof A Ravi, and I was like, oh man, okay, this is gonna be you know, I'm like, all right, this is gonna be interesting. And I absolutely bodied him the first time around. There were like a couple others that I just absolutely destroyed them, and then immediately afterwards, yeah, you're right, I would just go up against some rando like champion, and I would just be like, all right, well, cool dudes, I completely drafted like a Papega here, and we're back to 2700. We went all the way from 2950 to like 2775 one day, because I just kept slamming the same thing that didn't work against a bunch of people. But like, yeah, it's weird because like sometimes, I don't know, man, like sometimes you're just in the zone, right? Like, you're just in the zone, and you're just like, okay, man, I am just playing like crazy. And it's not even like you know, obviously sometimes, right, you just get like 7 back-to-back dual attacks with your Stenny, and you're like, man, guys, this is literally nothing but skill. I am outskilling this person so hard right now. Look at all of these dual attacks. I reached down deep, you know, and I really thought about it, and you know, I just decided that this attack I was going to dual attack with my Stenny, and then right afterwards I knew that I needed to dual attack with my Stenny again, and that's what clinched the game for me. You know, it's not even one of those, it's like you actually play and make like, you know, really good calls, and you know what you're supposed to do, how much damage you can output. Those are the good fights. But then yeah, sometimes like you just look at it and you're like, damn man, that's crazy, I didn't ban that Solitaria and I have an SSB. Man, this is gonna work out real good. And then like 3 games later, somebody picks a Solitaria and you pick an SSB, and then you forget to ban the Solitaria again. And then there's no way that it would happen a third time. But do you know what was crazy is it happens a third time, and you're like, you know what, I should probably go to sleep. I should probably, you know, stop RTAing for today. Because yeah, sometimes you just go Papega brain.
Yeah, no, especially when you're like doing a really long stream, right? I feel like past the third, fourth hour of RTA, you're on autopilot most of the time, and it's just a matter of whether or not your team is geared well enough and your fundamentals are good enough to react to what they're doing. An example I like to use is like, I think I'm 0-3 or 0-4 against like Shuffles this season, just because he has like an Elbrus Senya gear for when I like eat a cleave, and that provokes me every time, and I forget about it every time too. And people would just Pepe laugh me. I'm like, yeah, so whatever, right? Like we take some points, we give some points back. That's just how ladder works.
You know, I always like to tell people when I go on a big losing streak that I am just donating points to the community, because You know, if I didn't give back to the community, like how would they get points if I just kept all the points, right? You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that the points are spread out. Like, you know, I win some, I want to give back to the community that supports me.
Yeah, that's how a ladder works, right? You give
Yeah,
some, you take some.
right. I mean, that's literally how Big Smo got to legend, was that I donated him points.
Ah,
You should
okay.
report him for win trading, except don't report me. Just report Big Smo.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, why would you do the actual fair thing, right? You do the thing that benefits yourself, and then we call it fair, right? I'm starting to learn.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. I think I have. Last question. And we'll wrap
Mhm.
this up because we've been talking for a really long time. I usually try to keep these like an hour, but like, you know, I did hear that you were one of the best people talkers, so I was fully prepared. We all know that Smilegate is bad at marketing. But what can they do to bring in more players?
Uh, Probably commission an anime series. That'd be the easiest thing. Easily. Like,
Yeah.
we already have, what, 1, 2, 3 seasons of anime material lined up, right? You can probably skip
Right.
season 1, because I hear, like, I don't read story. I skip all the story to play PvP, but I hear the story there's meh. I hear episode 2 is pretty decent. I hear episode 3 is really good.
Yeah.
And I've not heard much yet about the overall quality of episode 4. But, like, we're three and a half
Yeah.
seasons into the story. If they just made an anime series, like, we are flying.
Dude, I just want to know about the designer straws world. Like literally,
Oh.
that's one of the one of the stories that I care the absolute most about in this game is the world that, you know, has top model Lulica, designer Lilibet, all of that stuff, because I feel like it's the kill a kill world. I feel like it would just be straight up kill a kill, and I want top designer straws. And I do think that an anime would be pretty good. Season one was pretty, you know, episode one was pretty mediocre kind of standard. Season two got a little bit better, just because I think that they got better at writing. Episode three was really good. I
Right,
mean,
right.
obviously they can write, because the Game of Princes was actually really, really well done. It was probably one of my favorite side stories in a long time. Obviously, they forget how to write when they're doing collabs, like the ReZero collab, which was a story that I could have probably put together at 3 in the morning in the time that it would have taken for me to poop. But you know, that is neither here nor there. It was, yeah, it was really bad. I hated it, but like they do have really, really good stories. I do think that an anime would be good. But like
Right.
the thing is, right, is, you know, when Genshin came out, like I feel like they spent like 75% of their budget hiring streamers, you know, making content, you know, paying content creators, you know, ads literally everywhere. Like you couldn't open a video anywhere without seeing Genshin ad. The, you know, Genshin on Twitch had like, yeah, a million people watching it. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
everywhere. Whereas like Epic 7, the only time I ever get any ads for anything Epic 7 is when I'm swiping through Tinder, and that's for the Epic 7 JP art book, and that's only because Play Asia is sending me an advertisement. Like I hardly ever see Epic 7 advertisements, and yeah,
Right. And on the subject of that art book, right? I feel like even that was handled really poorly, because we all know, like, at this point, Smilegate has a pretty good partnership going with Amazon, right?
yep,
And I refuse to believe when you have like a relationship going with Amazon, it is that hard to get your own merch distributed through Amazon. Because if I remember correctly, they said they were going to sell a second wave of the art book through Amazon, and that
yeah,
completely blew up. And I just rolled my eyes, because as an independent small business owner at one point that operated on Amazon, like, it is not that hard to get your goods, like, from like wherever you want to make it, right? For me, it was like China to like West Coast America, into an Amazon warehouse for distribution. Like, that's the type of stuff you can do by yourself. And
yeah.
with a whole corporation, you're telling me
with a whole corporation, with a partnership with Amazon, and you guys can't do that.
Right.
Like the only thing I can do is roll my eyes and say, of course.
Of course. Yeah, no, we were looking at the store the other night, and for a $28 shirt to ship to my house, and this isn't, you know, a super amazing shirt, it's just a shirt with Arky on it that says Epic 7 on the back, it would have cost almost $68.
That's absolutely ridiculous, man.
The shipping was more than twice the shirt. It was actually pretty ridiculous how bad Smilegate handles merchandise. I mean, there's literal games that, like, probably, I mean, Arknight still puts out, you know, figures. Azure Lane still puts out figures. I would have thought with their partner, right, your partnership with Amazon, but your partnership with Yostar, like, you couldn't have, you know, used some connections there to be like, oh, hey, you know, we see you handle these other games. Let's make some Nendos. Let's make some merchandise. I mean, it's been over 3 years and we got, what, a Luna statue that you can't even buy. You have to literally win that.
Yeah, look
know?
how many people want that Luna statue when they first saw it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you actually just set up a limited amount to be distributed through your partner, Amazon, how much money would they have made, right? If you think about it, you only do a limited drop, right? Like, you know, Car 6, like, would just, like, jump at the opportunity, right? And then you repeat that process anytime a new waifu hero comes out, right? I know when the Steny skin came out, people were like, well, I'll take a statue of that, right? You know, a lot of people love top model Luluka. You drop one for that. You drop one for Peyra. You drop one for Arya. Like, that is a whole new, like, revenue stream you could have just been farming this entire time.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, like, realistically, like, there's no way that you can tell me that they can't outsource, like, shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever you have, like, to, you know, a t-shirt to Teespring. Like, literally, I had a store and I had Teespring stuff, right?
Right.
It's really not that big of a deal to, like, do up your merchandise, and, like, people literally who play the games want merchandise. Like, I didn't even play Azure Lane for the longest. I mean, I bought the figures after I actually quit Azure Lane just because I really, really liked the figures. I'm like, I don't play Azure Lane anymore, but, like, man, you know, this figure is really, really hot. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. And, you know, that would, you know, get that out there. Maybe, like, you know, you're browsing through Amazon or something like that, and you see, oh, hey, what's this? Oh, recommended. Oh, who's this Luna character? Oh, okay, that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, even the handling of the art book, the global art book, I don't know if you've seen the difference between the JP and the global art book, because it's two
The JP one is a lot better.
It is insanely better. The global art book was such a letdown as an art book collector. I've got a lot of art books from, like, Final Fantasy 14, a ton from Fate Grand Order, and, like, other various games that I play and stuff like that. And, like, the art book from the global one not only handled absolutely poorly, like, here's a limited run, and we're gonna announce it in the middle of a stream where you only find out about it like 10 minutes after the KR stream. Like, that's absolutely nuts.
There's so many things I feel like they could have done better, right? Because I don't know if I'm sure you've heard about this before, right? Where I don't remember which one, but in one of the previous Yansai Cups, right? The Chinese streamer himself found a figurine studio and made a figurine of the Steny skin, and he actually shipped it to the winner.
Yeah, because I actually messaged Rhyme about that, because Rhyme was posting up some pictures of it on Twitter, and I'm like, yo, how much do I need to pay you to get that? And they were like, oh, this is just for the winner of the tournament. And I'm like, okay, but, like, how much for you to just make another one secretly and just send that to me? Like, I will literally fucking buy all of them. And they just never got back to me on that one, because I literally would have bought all of them. You know,
Yeah.
honestly, like if I wouldn't get in trouble with Smilegate, I would probably find some like small studio and do like a run. So like I bought a limited run Saber Artoria like statue. It's huge. That was like $500, but they only made like 100 of them, right?
Right.
It's not like a super official one, but like yeah, man, I love big limited statues. I like limited figures. It's just that limited ability, like, but just being able to have it, right? Merchandise, I just I don't understand why Smile, you know, for it's funny because as much as the upset players and the KR player base calls Smilegate a, you know, a greedy, money hungry company, they lose they drop the ball on literally the thing that could make them just metric fuck piles of money.
They're absolutely terrible at making money off of their IP outside of selling banners, which is kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
because I mean, all of these characters just would print money. I mean, you can make Daki Makara covers, you know, shirts, like more than like the just garbo generic shirts that they have.
Right.
I don't know, did you ever, oh, you just recently joined the content creator program, but like a long while ago they literally like sent us just like Epic 7 shirts, and it just has like the E7 on the front. You've probably seen it. It's like the one that like Mashu and New would wear on stream every once in a while. But they just sent us those. There's like, hey, here, and I'm like wearing it. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is better than the shirt that they have on their store by miles. It's better. And yeah, I just don't, I just don't get it. But it'll be interesting. To see how they bring new players in, right?
Yeah, because I would hope they do something to, you know, cement their IP as like a, like these characters exist in this world, right? Like you want to make people believe that, right? And the example I like to draw upon is, for example, I know Games have like these characters in Grand Blue Fantasy that's been in like, they've been in Shadowverse, they've been in like Dragalia, right? Like that game might not have stayed, but like these characters have like been to all these different things, and they were all in all these different medias, and they're just kind of a mainstay if you're online, right? You've seen Elbert around somewhere. I don't even play any of the games. I know Elbert, right? That's the Lightning Boy, and it's
Yeah.
like, why can't you do that with Ross? Do that with Sez. Do that with MLV, right?
Do you think they'll ever have a
Do that with
a
Landy, you
Lost
know?
Ark? There's the Landy skin. But do you think they'll ever do anything with Lost Ark?
You know, it's like, I would say that it's possible, right? But they've not done anything with it so far. And the other thing is,
Yeah.
like, Lost Ark don't have like these characters, right? Like Glavier is just Glavier. Like Artillerist is just Artillerist. It's not like you have a name attached or like a personality attached to these characters, right?
Yeah, I thought that them not doing something with Lost Ark, like within the very early part of the hype, because like let's be real, Lost Ark has lost a shit ton of the hype that it had going for it. I think that not capitalizing on that and just immediately being like, hey, if you guys like Lost Ark, by the way, we've got this character or this game. It's a mobile game. It's pretty good. It's been out in global. So, you know, when you're not, you know, farming in Lost Ark, which is, you know, not really very often because that's pretty much all you do, you can farm Auto Wyvern in Epic 7. You know, play the animation. You know, and have some sort of just crossover, maybe like just in general to get the name out there. I think that was such a huge wasted opportunity, even if it wasn't like a collab. They didn't even need to put like the characters from either side in there, but like you could have easily done something like they did with like Amazon, right? Where if you've got Amazon Prime, you log in, you get a thing. Okay, cool. Literally Lost Ark is free. Like if you did a thing where it was like, hey, if you if you log into Lost Ark, you get some leafs. If you're in Lost Ark and you log into Epic 7, you link your accounts via Stove or whatever, you get something free in Lost Ark. Just being able to capitalize on that hype of literally a million plus, was it like a million plus concurrent users a day for like the first like week or two of the game, not doing that, I think was such a huge mistake in trying to get Epic 7 more in the mainstream, because let's be real, esportsification's not going to do it.
Yeah, at least in the current state of the game, like, having played in tournaments where it's decently serious, and then suddenly you have this upheaval of now Sash is everywhere, and now Sash is not everywhere. Now Soul Weavers have plus 20 speed. JK, they don't. Oh, Hiki XD, next week they do. It's like, okay, you gotta just make your game consistent first, right?
Right.
And
I think that like them trying stuff out like that was cool, but like make a mode where it's like, hey, we're gonna test this. Like, I understand in preseason, right? But like if you want your game to, like, for tournaments, right? I feel like in mock room you should be able to go, this is turned off. Like, this new shit is completely turned off. Because like I think that they didn't really think through that, like, but then again, also probably at the same time, they probably don't care about that tournament. Is it their tournament? No. It sucks.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but
I a lot of things that the community kind of hammers on, right, as far as egregious monetization or non-existent balancing is concerned. Like, I'm there, but but Smilegate's a business at the end of the day. But as somebody who also does business, right, I feel perfectly comfortable slamming them for all of these missed opportunities when it comes to monetizing their games and their IP, and all of these like different ways to kind of channel their IP into merch and to just be a mainstay in people's minds, right, in people's like web browser or like in their YouTube feed, right? They miss so many opportunities that it's like, bruh, even as like a greedy company,
right,
you guys ain't doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. And like the other thing too is like, let's be real, Raid Shadow Legends not sponsored this video. Like, it's not the greatest game out there, but Raid Shadow Legends is a pretty well known. Didn't they have a Super Bowl ad?
I did not know about that, actually.
I feel like they had a Super Bowl ad at one point. But like, regardless, if you play games or you are on the internet, you know the name Raid Shadow Legends.
It's the most ambitious project of our time.
Right, and it's going to be sponsoring the next Epic 7 Dojin, and possibly the first Epic 7 tasteful hand-holding animation. But regardless of that, like, that is the type of thing that Smilegate needs to do. It's not like they don't make enough money. Like, they need to, put ads in content creators' stuff, right? You can't really just rely on, Google ads, right?
Right.
They need to kind of learn how to market their game to a mass. Now, I feel like when the game first came out, right, it was a little hard. You are a no-name IP from a company that has like no real mobile games behind you. I think maybe they had like one or two other ones, but regardless, it's a new IP. You don't have any real backing. The game at the beginning wasn't the greatest game in the world. Let's be real. I mean, it's gotten a lot better. It was a lot harder. One of the things I had like a lot of people say when they first started playing was, wow, there's a lot to learn about this. And I don't want to think at all. But like at the beginning, ads, Doko, content creators, where, they picked up a whole bunch of Summoners War content creators because, well, their game was copied off of Summoners War, but like all of those dudes just like made 2 videos and then scooted. and it wasn't like a real big thing, you know. And so actually I think that the only person who's left from like the original content creators is Mango. I'm pretty sure that he was in the first round of content creators, and he's
Oh.
literally the only person who was stuck around over the time. But like, you know, I feel like with the animation and with like the, you know, the characters and all that stuff, that Smilegate could have literally just plastered this stuff everywhere. I mean, just the animations just speak for themselves. Just put Kisei's S3 on an
Right.
ad, no words, no nothing, and then just boom, play the animation. And I guarantee people would download it because you know what? That's what I did actually. Um, when the game first came out, like right before the game came out, someone was like, "Yo, look at this," and I'm like, "Yo, that looks amazing."
Yeah,
That
my friend
S3
got
is
me with the
so good.
Bologna S3 and the Luna S3. I'm like, say less, fam. I'm in.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it looks so good. And yeah, I just think that like if they want to continue the longevity of their game, I think that they need to advertise it a lot more. I know the problem with gotcha games is once you get into a certain part of the life cycle, it's really, really hard to get new players in because they're going to be like, well, I am so far behind everybody else. I will never catch up. And if you're a player that's like a, you know, a completionist or a collector or, you know, a competitive player, right? Like getting into the
Hmm.
game right now, you're going to be like, oh, I'll never have all these units. I will never complete all the stuff. Um, I'm so far behind every competitive player that you know it's an astronomical feat for me to ever catch up. So I think that that's something that Smilegate really needs to think about, considering they only have 6.5 years left of their 10-year plan.
Right, right, and you know that's something I feel like they did relatively well because if you look at somewhere like Japan where they're a year and a half to 2 years behind like global and Korea, and global is like 3 months behind Korea, something like that, right? Um,
Yeah.
global and Korea actually have a pretty level playing field, and I feel like Japan's generally caught up, right? They're not fully caught up because sometimes when I win versus Japanese players, still feels like a gear diff.
Yep.
But I definitely think as far as like hero pool and what players need to summon, right? A lot of the older heroes that were like super power picks don't feel like, you don't have RB, that's an uninstall. Like that's no longer the
Yeah.
case with this game.
You know, and I actually think that that's something that a lot of people don't think about, right? Because, well, they're older players and maybe they're more older free to play players, right? And they're like, oh man, I really want to be able to use my, you know, old unit that I put a lot of work into, but they don't think about the fact that, like, for a newer player, units that do power creep a lot of these older characters, that actually allows for a newer player to catch up a lot faster, you know, because, well, you don't have to have yeah, like you said, yeah, you don't have to have these older characters because, yeah, I mean, for real, at one point, you know, if you didn't have Arby, just uninstall. I mean, it is what it is. Although I do notice that like GP players really like their Arby's, and I think it's because they spent so much time re-rolling their accounts at the beginning, that they're like,
Right.
I will never not use this unit.
Right, absolutely. And it creates a very cool variety in the game, right? And I think that's kind of the part in gacha games where I think power creep is fine, cuz like you kind of have to draw a line between never power creeping anything to things slowly getting a little bit better over time so that new players come in don't have to worry about all these heroes that they don't have, right? And I think
Right.
that's like healthy for a competitive side of the game.
Yeah, but I think it like I think there was just like a period, right, where um where Smilegate just they just absolutely, instead of like for the longest time, right, we had more side grade heroes and then like the power creep came, but it wasn't like astronomically huge, right? It was like, oh, you know, this unit is pretty strong, but like, you know, if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Like you can still use, you know, this other unit, right? But then like there
Right.
was just a period where they're like, you know, instead of going from like 9 to like 9.2 to 9.4, we're just gonna immediately turn it up to 12.
Right.
Yeah, so, but the problem with like very, very slow power creep or no power creep is that what's your incentive? What's your incentive to pull a new unit? Like if it doesn't do anything better than something else, why?
Right, I
Like,
agree. And for business, right, it makes no sense if everything is a side grade, right? Like for example, Jacko to me is just a green Sid, but you're not a speed imprint, but you also die to Rem, so it's like
yeah,
yes, I pull for the hero, right? But to all my viewers, I'm not gonna lie to them and be like, yo guys, pull, this is just better green Sid. But I'm just gonna be like,
right.
yeah, this is a green Sid that one can't speed imprint and two dies to Rem for free. So I don't know why anybody would pick this hero, right?
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I've ran into some people that like, you know, just kind of. I when I was playing with her, I built her like a speed pen Rylet that just, you know, didn't have evasion because let's be real, evasion's not going to work in the first place. So if you just get outsped as a speed pen Rylet, you're just going to die anyways. So it really didn't matter. But she was fun. Yeah, no, I tell people the way, you know, all the time. I'm like, if I don't think that a unit is like an absolute must pull or it's a side grade or whatever, I'm like, yeah, the unit's all right. You know, it's not like you if you're asking me right now, you probably don't have the gear for it. In which case, you know, it's not limited, so just don't even really worry about it right now. Not the biggest thing in the world for you and your account to really worry about. But like that's the thing is, it's like if a unit, I mean, literally look at when Blood Moon Haste first came out. When Blood Moon Haste came out, everybody was just like, why would I pull this? Like, yeah, okay, it stops Arby, but like the rest of his kit is mediocre. Like it's just a complete side grade niche character that only does this one thing. And so if a unit like that comes out, everybody's going to be like, meh, there's no hype.
Right.
So if you don't have some sort of power creep over time, then there's no hype generated. Even if, and I said this when ML Haste came out, I'm like, okay, his S3 heals, it ignores defense. I'm like, you know what? It has a lot of defense currently. All of the tanks that everybody picks, because, you know, I'm a tank player. So I know how much defense they have. I'm like, you know what is really awesome? If you just ignore all that, just completely ignore it. I'm like, his whole kit is pretty sweet. And, you know, if they pick a Ruel or a Maid, you don't have to even think out, like, you know, just Arby. Yeah, and people are like, bro, nah, he sucks, dude. He sucks. He's not that great. I just use these other things. Like, why would I use that when I could just use this other thing, man? So really, unless there's like some sort of hype, people aren't going to be like, oh my god, dude, this is a must pull. I absolutely must pull. Well, unless it has giant mommy milkers.
Right. That's the other selling point. But
yeah,
you can also have Payra where it's like your hero has both. All right, guys, boys, bust out the credit cards.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll do videos sometimes where it's like, should you pull this? And always like the first comment is, don't care if she's fucking hot.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
there you go.
True. That's the truest true, man. Like, you know, you'll see people post all over like Stove, Facebook, Reddit. They're like, bro, this unit is literal dog. And then people be like, I don't care, man. She's hot. I will literally burn every bookmark that I have. And then I'll swipe that card if I have to afterwards. I don't care. She could be the worst kit in the world. That was how I was with when Hua Youngs, when they came out, the immediate moment that I saw that S3, I'm like, I will triple S this character.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't even see her kit. I'm like, this unit has every aesthetic that I like, and I will triple S this. She could have the worst kit in the world, and I will triple S this. And I'm glad that, you know, that it was worth all of it because she's amazing. But you know, regardless, I think that you know, with the power creep, there has to be some residual power creep, and I think that with the last couple of characters, you know, Hua Young excluded, Wait, hold on. We just had Arya, right?
Yeah, we have Arya.
Oh, I think Arya is actually pretty balanced.
Yeah, I would agree. She's incredibly terrible against like half the meta units in the game, and she's incredibly strong against the other half. To me, that's balance.
Oh yeah, no, if she's like a last, like if I get roped into like a single target draft and then they just like lock Arya last pick, I'm like, well, guess I'm banning that. Guess you get the rest of your draft for free, because if I don't, yeah, what do I do here?
Yeah, I have so many people that are like convinced Arya isn't a real unit, and anytime I play her on stream, like I'm playing against paid actors, but it's like I literally listed out every unit in my mind that she was good against and every unit she's bad against. I'm like, okay, all the units she's bad against exist as a cleaver aggro unit, and all the units she's good against are all the bruisers and tank down units. I'm like, so why can't I pick her as a last pick as an anchor unit in my cleave, right? Because like if she has Abyssal Crown, she's even really good in her Green Violet. I'm like, I actually love playing that. And when I like put up my video on YouTube, there was somebody who was adamantly arguing with me like, oh, that's not a real unit. The rest of your units did the damage. All she did was like stealth them, and FCC could protect them better. I'm like, dog, you're like, you know, if your FCC is not gonna save your like 8,000 HP Politis from a Ravi, right? Like this unit has really good utility where it's like you just have to open up your mind and think about like where this unit could actually be good, and they'll be good. So many games where I do my cleave rotation, their entire team survives with like 1 HP. My Arya snaps her fingers, boom, everything else is stealth, and I'm just like, all right, dude. They top right, and they're like, well, yeah, Arya did nothing here. All she did was press a button, and the other units did the work. I'm like, I can't convince these guys. Like the sun is like, dude, you know, yellow and the sky is blue. Like these guys are just, they operate on a different level.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say your first mistake was trying to think that you could convince YouTube comment section players about anything. It's the same as like the Discord theory crafters, where you're like, yeah, no, I mean, like in this situation, like this character's really good, like you just, you know, do this and this, and they're like, yeah, but I just picked Millum and now everybody's not stealth.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay, but why would I let that through? I would 100% ban that, because that is like, that's my answer to that. And they're like, yeah, but I would also pick AOL. And I'm like, but yeah, I probably wouldn't let you have that. Like I would have drafted like completely differently. Like, well, you know what? I would have just 4 units. I'd actually have 5 units, so you have to ban one of them, but all 5 of those units would just literally counter the draft that you just picked. And I'm like, but I wouldn't draft her in that situation. They're like, right, but
and that's my
would.
mistake, right? Because my assumption is, you know, every community is as welcoming as a Twitch community, where at least they're somewhat open to reception and to like open discourse. But that's an inexperience upon my part.
That is true. Yeah, no, YouTube comment sections, and here's the other thing too, as I can tell you as a YouTube vet, most people who comment in your comment section, really dumb things. They do not expect you to ever respond. They think that they're going to come on your video. They're going to be like, haha, Mr. YouTuber, I got him. These nuts. That's what the comment I got you with. And then you are just going to look at it and be like, oh, wow, well, if I respond, then I'm going to look bad. So I'm just either not going to respond, or, you know, I'm just going to suck it up and sit here and cry because they got me so bad. All you have to do is just literally trash on them and tell them how wrong they are. And they'll either double down and then you just mute them, or they will delete their own comment. I've had so many people just delete their own comment because they're like, yo, dude, bro, I did not expect you to respond and put me in my place. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because I look like an absolute clown. So thank you for that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
people
man.
are definitely like way more what I would call like armchair PhDs, right? When it comes to stuff like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's the bronze player telling you how legend players play because they watched an elf mage stream once.
Yeah. And
Right.
you know, at that point, it's like, I see. That's a noted from me. Thank you, sir, for your PhD education right here in my
Right.
chair in my man cave.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. You know, oh well, if you would have drafted this, and this, you would have won.
Yeah,
I
a
have
lot of
not
comments
finished my
don't seem to
placements
think
yet. But,
sequencing exists.
right.
It's
Right.
like,
Yeah. No.
oh, they could have just picked this, and this. Like, well, you know, if they pick that, then my draft will look completely different. And it's just like that never seems to connect to them. And
Yeah,
oh
in a
man,
vacuum, or the other ones that I really like is they'll be like, well, this character doesn't do anything by herself, and you need a whole team to back her up. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy, man. I'm glad that this is a team game. I'm glad that I have 3 other units to synergize with this character. You know, yeah, no, I'm just gonna take this one unit into RTA, probably just draft a whole bunch of other fodder and hope that they don't ban her. You know, because that's how that works.
right.
Yeah.
You also have like geniuses like nothing can beat a Huayang 1v1. This is the strongest hero in the game.
I mean, gabbed blue Kisei would beg to differ, but you know, a lot of people probably didn't think about that. Or you know, an attack buffed operator Sigrid.
Right.
You know, yeah. But then you tell them that, and they're like, ah, well, not my copium geared operator Sigrid. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a player skill issue right there.
Yeah,
you know?
or like a gear priority issue, right? There's a lot of things
Right.
you can like identify about your accounts to make it better, and it just seems like a lot of these armchair PhDs is like, well, you know, for me, no,
well,
I do
no,
it this
no.
way, and
Valk,
I
you
don't
have
want to
to
do extra
understand.
work to optimize.
Right. No, Valk, you have to understand, it is if you don't have good gear, if you don't have the most optimized gear, that is a player skill issue, because you just need to get good and get better gear.
Oh, I see.
Right.
See.
You just need to dig down and roll better. Like, you just need to roll
why didn't
better
it ever
gear.
occur to me to just roll faster gear? Yo, thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me. Dude, I would have never realized that. Thank you so much,
See,
Shogun. Oh my
that's
god.
literally what I'm saying, dude. Like, fave, and subscribe for more hot tips on how to. You know what? Actually, I might do that tomorrow. I might actually make a YouTube short tomorrow, probably before I post this. Just explain to people how to win at Epic 7. You know, you just have to roll better. That's just pretty much the crux of the issue. Oh, you're having gear problems? Just roll better gear. I don't understand why everybody has such a problem with that. But
Well,
you
now,
know,
Shogun, be careful now. That sarcasm might fly right over some of those PhDs' heads. Now, just be careful with it.
You are actually dead serious, because there's a lot of times that I am like super sarcastic in videos, and people will be like, "No, you were being serious." They'll like literally be like, "No, he was being serious about that." And I'm like, "Man, you must be new. This must be literally the first video you've ever watched, because like, I'm not usually serious about anything. And when I get my sarcasm voice on, it's definitely a different voice than my non-sarcasm. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I can blend the two. And that's the best one, is when, you know, when I am being sarcastic, but it doesn't sound like I am. And then at the end, you know, you're just like, oh, got him. That's right. Yeah, Eaton is my favorite character. Yeah, Eaton D's nuts. Got him. But it has been a little over 2 hours. So, I mean, definitely we could continue to Peepo talk probably for another, 3 or 4 hours, unironically. But I'm going to end the podcast here. Go ahead and shout out all of your links and everything like that, Valk, so people who did stick around to the end can know where to find you.
Yeah. I stream under the name ValKyreia with a little underscore at the end on Twitch. Same name ValKyreia on YouTube. I might get a name change soon, but you'd be able to find me anytime soon with that name. And yeah, guys, if you guys just want to learn how to play RTA, just come chill and watch some content games sometimes. That's where you'd be able to find me.
Yeah, true. And if you just want somebody to you want to listen to somebody talk for an extended period of time, Valk is definitely that individual. But Valk, I had a really good time talking to you. We covered a lot of topics that that I didn't actually think we would even talk about, just because, see, that's why I like the one-on-ones, right? Because it's more of just like a conversation that devolves off into other things. But one question that I did have that I didn't cover here, smash or pass on Enot?
Smash or pass on Enot? I mean, I'm gonna smash that ass into the ground and never call him back. That's what I'm gonna say.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And with that, I will catch you guys on the next Infinite Library. I'm going to try to get Elf Mage next time. I think that'll be a good conversation. But like, fave, subscribe, comment down below if you made it all the way to the end. Because, well, if you didn't make it all the way to the end, you wouldn't have heard this unless you were on Twitch when it was actually being recorded. So, yeah, just make sure to do all of those things, and I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace.